tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Hey guys, welcome to the Black Hollywood Reporter. I am your host, Kay Montgomery. I have my co-host with me, Samantha Jacobs.
Hello.
So excited to start you guys off today as our premiere episode. We want to welcome you. This is the Black Hollywood Reporter, where we will be discussing business and creatives and top trending Black entertainment news. Tonight, we're going to get into the legends that we lost this weekend. So sad. Little Richard, Harrell, and Betty Wright. There's a lot to take in this week. And then we're going to be talking about the Verzuz Battle between Erykah Badu and Jill Scott, our girls. And then Michelle Obama's Becoming, which debuted this week on Netflix. And then also Chrissy, Teigen, and Alison Roman. They had a beef on Twitter. So let's just get right into it. Oh boy, Samantha, it was a rough one this week. We just kept getting bad news about Black music icons passing away.
Yeah, I mean, people say things happen in threes, and this one happened extremely quickly. And for them to each be a person that has changed the next generation is something even more bone chilling to me personally, as someone who's really into the music industry. To start it off, like Little Richard, he was an innovator of rock and roll. Like without him, people like Bob Dylan idolized him. Like they just wanted to be him. They wanted to push the boundaries. They wanted to testify like this rebellion that he just created, and he didn't even know he was creating it, right? He was like, I was just doing me. I went from this gospelness to this rock and rollness, and I created what we would call now rock and roll and blues.
That's right.
So that he unfortunately passed at 87 from bone cancer. It was not something, anyone looks up for. But what's crazy is for him to be such a legend, he never won a Grammy.
Are
not
you
a single
serious?
one. Yeah.
I did not know that.
He didn't win anything, but in 1993, he got a Lifetime Achievement Award because of his inspiration. Because what's really strange is I guess the 50s was his prime. And after those hits like Tutti Frutti and Good Golly Miss Molly, like stuff like that, he didn't have anything on the top 10, which is hard to believe, but I guess that's just how the world works. And so they eventually gave him that Lifetime Achievement Award because of his, pushing back and his iconic motion in the music industry.
Yes, just contribution.
So I was shocked when I found that out. I was like, what? That's crazy. And that makes me question what other legends and artists haven't gotten that Grammy. And why not? Or what is testifying this?
You said it though. He came up in the 50s, so you know why not. You know what I mean? You know why not.
And that was a big thing, was putting a change to segregation, to sexualization, to like just the ear of music. And that was his thing. He even he knew he was the man. Like people like Prince, you would compare Prince and him, and he told a camera off and he was like, you know what? I was wearing purple before you were wearing purple. And that's a big thing to say to Prince on a camera, because like that's his color.
I love it.
That's just who he is, and you can't hate it, because he is the man. He's the man who changed it.
I remember this famous interview with him and Arsenio Hall, and he said, I'm not conceited, I'm convinced. And I was like, wow.
But it's like you can't hate that.
Yeah, you can't, because and there were a lot of people that profited off of his music where he didn't. I think that happened a lot of times back in the day with a lot of older Black artists. I mean, it happens to artists now in the game, but the way that it was happening then was unbelievable. Yeah.
And stage persona, right? Like rock and roll isn't rock and roll without being flamboyant, crazy. You could say, I don't know, like Mick Jagger. Like everybody has an ounce of him in them, no matter who they are. Jimi Hendrix,
no, that's a good point, because the people that are considered legends in the field in rock and roll all give props to him. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Wow, I did not know he didn't have a Grammy. That's a good background, Sam. So my generation, my dude was Andre Harrell. I mean, when I was in high school, that used to be Uptown Records was just like mind blowing every time they had that Uptown MTV Unplugged, which is just like legendary. And to this day, I was watching clips of it today, and I was just like, oh my God, this dude was on
Okay.
Williams and Jodeci.
Walk me through that. So you're putting on the TV for like people who like MTV is not the same anymore, as we all know. Like, so what?
Yes, my
was
daughter
that
was
experience?
shocked by MTV. She was like, they used to play music. I cannot. You know, I cannot. So the late 90s, Andre Harrell comes on the scene. So initially, Andre Harrell was actually a rapper himself. He did an album, I think, called Champagne Rap, where he was in a suit, him and another guy. I mean, but he eventually moved on to finding talent because he had a really good eye for talent. He worked at Def Jam. He worked with Russell Simmons. You know, Russell Simmons was behind Run DMC and all kinds of guys. Andre Harrell first saw Heavy D and thought, you know, this guy has something, we need to get behind him. The record company he was working with, they were like, no, he's overweight. We don't want to see him. Nobody wants to see him. Yeah, with Heavy D. And so he came up with the idea that no, Heavy D is a ladies' man. And yeah, you know, he's a lover, not a fighter. And he talked Heavy into dancing, which guys in like late 80s, the Heavy D was like a dance people used to do. Like I wish I had room to show it to you guys. So Andre Harrell, a legend, introduced all these people to the game. He started his own subsidiary label, Uptown. This is where he found acts like Jodeci, Mary J. And these guys were different because it was a blending of hip hop and R&B soul like we hadn't seen before. We take all of that for granted now. We take the sing-song rapper for granted. We take the R&B hook for granted. We take the melding of the two. But Uptown is really where that was kind of born. And so a lot of people see that as Puffy, but what actually happened is Andre Harrell gave Puffy his start at Uptown. Puffy was actually an intern for Andre Harrell for a long time and then became an A&R, which is in charge of artists and repertoire. And then Puffy got kind of too big for his britches. The stories are legendary of him coming into the office with his shirt fully unbuttoned, sometimes not even wearing a shirt to work, putting his feet up on his desk. Andre Harrell didn't care who he had found or discovered and promptly fired him in 1993, which was a huge deal. Puffy went on to start his own company, Bad Boy, but only after Andre Harrell talked Clive Davis into funding money for Puffy to start Bad Boy. So Andre Harrell just had his hand as a mentor all the way through. And him and Puffy, you know, they never fell out or anything. In fact, at the end of his career, most recently, he worked at Puffy's Revolt company. So they were all, you know, always on good terms. But he really pioneered. He did a lot of stuff with Guy, which is what is called the New Jack Swing with Teddy Riley. So that was like a whole brand and form of music. And then he moved that into hip hop soul, which is more of the stuff he did at Uptown. So for him to just kind of pioneer two types of Black music in one generation, I mean, it's just insane the fingerprint he has in Black music, especially recently. So he left Uptown and went to Motown for a couple of years. He had kind of a hard time turning that company around because by the time he was in Motown, it was the late 90s and it wasn't popping like it used to be. And then he eventually moved to Revolt, and then he did some stuff with Kenneth Babyface Edmonds, but always just like a heavy hitter and huge in the culture and just a behind the scenes type of guy. Questlove did a really great tribute to him this week on his Twitter. And it was really just saying how, you know, he really made the music of a generation. But because he was a behind the scenes guy, he never really got his flowers. So kind of the same thing like you were saying about Little Richard, you know, like he never got a Grammy. Like we recognize him, especially in the community, but we just hope it's just kind of a lot of regret that he didn't, you know, get his flowers in the end. BET did announce last year that they're going to be doing a mini series based on Uptown.
Oh, cool.
The whole entire story with Andre Harrell. So that's going to be interesting. They announced this weekend that they're going to move forward with it after the whole COVID thing. You know, they're going to move forward with filming it and all of that. But what I wondered is, who do you think will play Andre Harrell and who do you think would play Puff?
Oh, goodness.
Right?
You know what? I'm just going to say off the bat, I want new talent.
You want new talent. Okay, I like that.
I want new talent.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
everyone's always about like the who's going to play who do you see that? But it's like, let's get somebody new. Let's get somebody in there. Because I remember there was an interview with Nipsey Hussle, and he was asked to play in Straight Outta Compton, Snoop.
Oh, yeah.
He denied it. Everyone was like, man, why did you deny it? You're the man. This is LA. This is your color. Like, this is everything.
Right.
And he said no. And he said, because I want to be known for me. And I want to be known for who I am and what I do and what I serve. And everyone was shook because they were like, why?
Wow.
Why would you do something that could have launched you even more? And he was like, no, I'm doing things my own way.
Wow. That's Nipsey for you. Always. Wow. Always just doing dope stuff on his own. And then Betty Wright passed away as well, famously known for her song Cleanup Woman. And then also, I mean, she worked on a lot of people's records back in the 70s, but even more recently, she's worked with artists, but she was a soul icon. She could do that whistle register that not a lot of people can do, that really high register. But she worked with Jennifer Lopez, Joss Stone, Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley, The Roots. I mean, all kinds of people.
Yeah, so they called her the mentor of the new generation. She was all about giving back. I think she was Beyonce's personal voice coach at some point, which doesn't surprise me. Yeah, but she really, gave back to the new guys. She wasn't petty about anything. She just wanted to keep the knowledge alive.
Yeah, that's really awesome and laudable. So for you guys watching us, we just want to encourage you to subscribe to Black Hollywood Live on YouTube and subscribe to our show, The Black Hollywood Reporter. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, make sure to give us a 5-star review. We love those. We love to hear your comments or any questions you have, or if you have ideas about who should play Puffy or Andre Harrell in the upcoming Uptown miniseries, let us know about that also. And then drop your name in the comments for us, and we'll give you a shout out on the air. We love to do that. This is one of the only Black online channels that we have, and we need your support, especially now. So just make sure 5-star reviews, thumbs up, comments, all of that stuff. We love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please. And so speaking of legends, we have a legendary moment right now being in Corona land per se, and we're anxious to see how the entertainment industry is going to rise. And the big thing is, when are movie theaters going to open up again? And that's something that is kind of scary because you're in a tight space with a bunch of people, but it's scary because it's hurting. Like, the movie industry makes about $15 million a year just through ticket sales and concessions. And that's gone. And it employs over 1 million people with, ArcLight, AMC, Cinemax. Like, there's so many movie theaters, but they're thinking about opening them. So that's the good news. The thing is, they're going to have these airport type protocols. There's going to be stickers on the floor where you have to wait 6 feet apart, no matter what. I believe they're going to do half the capacity of what could happen, but you have to sit a certain amount of seats away from people. And then they're also going to be taking your temperature. See, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Because you're putting a medical situation in the hands of, how old are you when you start working? 16?
Right. Like
a 16-year-old concession stand person, or somebody it's just I don't know how
Here's
I feel.
the thing though, I love going to the movies. I know some people, I've seen a lot of people online be like, movie theaters need to go ahead and die because I'll pay $20 to watch a movie in my house, blah blah blah. I'm not that kind of person. I feel like there is nothing that can match the experience of being in a theater. I just think about when I went to see Black Panther and the feeling in the theater. just at certain points in that movie, and to have that collective experience were just like huge and unmatched. It's something that you just could not get at home. I don't care who is at your house, you couldn't get it at home. But then I feel like you, Sam, a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of like how sanitary could it possibly be? Are they going to wipe down every single chair and then for them to check my temperature? I guess they're probably going to just do like the forehead thermometer thing, but still, all of that just feels kind of dystopian and weird. I will say, I think I will go back to the theater. It's just going to have to be for a really good movie I want to see. Because I hear now there's some theaters opening up in Texas, and what they're doing is showing old school stuff. I don't think I'm going to go to a theater and put myself at risk to watch a Grease sing-along.
Right.
What about you?
I mean, who would? I mean, I wouldn't either. Because see, that is what's on Netflix. You know what I mean? Like, I could go watch Grease right now. I think I have it on DVD. But the like you said with Black Panther, it's like when you go to a theater, it's a community experience, and it's like hearing it a different way. It's like not everyone has these fancy speakers and things, you know, or the jumbo screen. It's just a totally different experience. And I don't know, like most of those seats are cloth. I've never been to a movie theater that has plastic, but I'm sure there's one out there. I mean, how do you clean that? Or like, how do you sanitize that? They're not going to like go in with like carpet cleaner in between each thing. So that's what, I don't know. I think maybe it's just going to stay chill for now. And they're just going to keep it at older movies just to get people more comfortable with being with people in public. That might just be their theory of things, that it's the phases, you know? But I don't know. It's like, do we wear face masks? Yeah. Right.
How you gonna eat your popcorn with your...
I don't.
I don't know, girl. Half the reason I go is for the popcorn. So you found a really cool article, I thought, about drive-in concerts that blew my mind.
Yes. So because the movie theater thing, drive-in movies have become more popular. So the drive-ins are open. People are seeing movies there, but it's like a little bit delayed. It's not a new movie. It's still a movie that was like, I think, kind of out during Corona, and then this is like they're still trying to push those movies through.
Right.
So now people are talking about doing drive-in concerts, and Live Nation is one of the major concert going companies, and they're saying that 90%
owns
of
Ticketmaster.
Yes, 90% of people aren't asking for a refund. They're like, wait, I want to wait until this show actually happens. Like, I don't want to not see this show. I just want us to like get back to normal. So by seeing that percentage of people not actually getting their refund, I mean, one, it's good for business, but two is like, okay, what can we do in this time? And obviously no one wants to watch something broadcast because you paid for something. So they're trying to test out something like a drive-in concert. Well, they'll have it in these open like outdoor arenas, and you would just roll up there. They've tested like a mini version in Austin, Texas, and people seem to like it with like local bands or cover bands type of thing.
I saw that.
People like it. I mean, I would go. I would 100% go. I think that would be really fun. You're in your car. You would turn, and you know what? This would be great for the radio station, because you could partner with the radio station and be like, let's say Kiss FM 102.7 Kiss, turn that radio station on, and that's what concert you're watching.
Is the live
at the time is the live version.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I saw that they did it in Denmark. And then I saw a guy did a pop-up, like an unofficial free pop-up in Seattle, a rapper named Ras Simone, which was crazy because he did it in a parking lot, and he was just like standing on top of the parking deck. And then all these cars were out, you know, but they said most people stayed in their car. Only one guy like got out of his car or whatever. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I haven't been to a concert in a while. I think like if it was an artist that I really loved, I would go for it. But then again, would you go for it if you could just go, segueing into topic 3, would you go for it if you could just see a Verzuz battle on your computer at home?
It's true.
And a lot of times for free. I mean, Erykah, Bday, and Jill Scott did their Verzuz this week, and they blew everybody else out of the water. They made history with over 700,000 ideas live when they were streaming. It was awesome to hear them both talk about, talk a little bit about a story, and then, play a little bit of a song. I had no idea that Jill Scott wrote the hook to If You Are Worried About Where
You and Me. Yeah.
I was like, Jill wrote that? And
Yeah.
Erykah saying when she first heard it, she was like, why don't y'all just use the girl whose voice is on the track? She's amazing. And they were like, no, you do it. So I just thought that was insane. And then it was so much, I feel like Babyface and why can't I think of the other guy's name? The Babyface battle with Teddy Riley. It was a little shadier, but there was no shade between Jill and Erykah. It was so much love, just like sisterly love. I just really enjoyed it. What'd you think about it, Sam?
I did too. I think that this was a moment that needs to be shown more often. First, this is the first female Verzuz that we've received, which is amazing. And then it's like, even on Twitter, like right here, like people were just shocked at, they took out the Verzuz and this is a community and let's respect each other and, show us what talent is and how we're both equally, pride and joy and love and spirit. It's like,
and we love each other's music and we pick up what each other is doing. Yeah, it was everything.
It was just
awesome.
Affirmation.
Yeah, so much positivity. So the next battle is going to be Ludacris versus Nelly, right?
Yeah.
Which, okay. And I mean, I just feel like Jill and Erykah is a hard act to follow. When Swizz Beatz and Timbaland were talking, they said they needed people that had at least 20 hits. You got to have at least 20 bangers to even come to the party to talk about battling anybody. So I immediately started thinking about Missy Elliott, who's often, as an artist, very highly rated, but I think underrated as like a songwriter and producer. Like last year, a lady did a whole thread of Missy influences and Missy production and things that Missy wrote, and it blew my mind. Things I had no idea that Missy had done. So I really feel like Missy should be battling. I would like to see her battle a Neo, just like off of songwriting. Or maybe even a Pharrell off of production, because they both done a lot of producing. But I don't think it needs to be woman versus woman, man versus man. Like I think when Missy comes to battle, she needs to battle a guy.
She does. She really does. I think Pharrell and her, that would be amazing. That would be a really good one, because they both have their own music, right? And then they both are known for their production. So that's a good one. I would watch that for sure.
So, I mean, I would watch Missy with anybody, but I would be excited to see her with a Pharrell.
Yeah. That would be a tough act.
So there's been a little bit of talk about doing Verzuz for money, but actually Swizz said if we ever did it for money, it would go to charity, which I think is good.
Okay.
But you would have to have some really heavy hitters. I feel like Babyface and Teddy Riley could have done it. Jill and Erykah, I would have paid to see Jill and Erykah, especially if it was going to charity. What do you think about the idea of monetizing it?
How much do you think? See, this is where it gets tricky, because this is where social media can get tricky. Like someone can record it, and then there's always like a way around it.
That's true.
So that's where I would be like, you just might as well just do it for free. But I mean, maybe, okay, how about this? Post Malone did a live concert from his house, and he had an open thing of donations, and the donations went to who? So, maybe something like that. And, people were mad in the chat, like, hey, okay, at $5 to World Health, like, people could contribute any little amount, instead of it being, all right, you have to even log into this, you have to pay $20.
I like that idea. Wow, look at Post Malone having good ideas. I generally don't care for Post Malone, but okay, good for him. about
He
him.
did a good one this time.
He did a good one. So topic 4, Michelle Obama's Becoming documentary. Oh my goodness, that was so exciting. I saw that there was a watch along for her doc, but then I saw her on the Erykah Badu, Jill Scott.
Yes.
Did you see
Everyone was like, Obama's
messaging?
in the house, Michelle's in the house. I was like, is she really? Is she? What's crazy is I didn't see her, normally can scroll and see if when someone joins, and I didn't see her join. And I was like, where is everyone seeing this? Why don't I see her join? I was trying to get a screenshot of it, but
yeah, I saw her pop up. I was like, yeah, scroll back down to my husband so we could see. So that was exciting. Michelle Obama was in the building for that being goals and everything. So I read Becoming. And I was still surprised by how much was revealed in the doc. I mean, I felt like she revealed a lot in the book, but she also was very transparent and just so cool in the documentary, even more than the book. What were your thoughts about the doc, Sam?
It was a lot about lessons and leadership and motivation. And you think of her as a certain way, right? Respect her, icon, the stuff she went through, you didn't really understand that. The stuff, she said something about they're living in the White House, and she was saying, I'm not raising my kids not to know how to make their bed. So you don't make the kids' beds, but you can make my bed because I'm the first lady. But it's she's right.
So funny.
Right. And it's to see that she had all of this power and she still let her values and morals bring her back to earth. It's that's why no matter what age you are, she is an empowering inspiration. She's authentic. She engages. She wants to know. She knows that the youth is the future. She brings in these little things that makes her so human that you feel like you know her. And that's insane to me.
Yeah.
Because she's the first lady. What other first lady?
Yeah. She's the forever first lady. I saw a tweet and it was it's the first lady's birthday. And I was like, it's Michelle Obama's birthday? And then I was scrolling. I was like, why is all of this stuff on Trump? And I was like, oh, she is not the first lady. Okay, my bad. Because I still think of her, she's the eternal first lady to me. Yeah, I thought what was interesting is she and Barack's company, Higher Ground, their production company, where she got the overall deal with Netflix, did a documentary last year called The American Factory, which won the Oscar for documentary filmmaking. So I'm like, is she going to carve out kind of a space for herself in this in the documentary space? And then I was thinking, because Barack's book deal is, his book is coming up. His book should be coming out the end of this year, if not the top of 2021. He has got to do a book tour that's going to be similar to hers. I'm like, could we expect for him to do a doc as well? That would be awesome.
That would be really awesome.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I'm very excited to see what they have in the pipeline with their Higher Ground Productions. I know right now on Netflix, they produced a show called, another documentary called Crip Camp. That's up and able to view. And then American Factory is up and able to view right now.
I actually saw Crip Camp.
Did you? I haven't watched it yet. How was it?
It's really good. It's really good. It's different. It brings, this is what they do. It brings a light on something of a marginalized community that isn't represented. These people are handicapped in this world, and that does not mean that they can't do things. And it's just how they progress to make them have equal rights. And it's important. They live in New York. How am I supposed to get on the subway if I'm in a wheelchair? The littlest things that people don't think about, because we're lucky. We're so lucky, and we don't realize that. And it kind of gives you that perspective.
Yeah. Well, so that's going to be really interesting. Just the idea of their whole, their Netflix overall deal, the impact that that's going to have on documentaries. I think it's interesting that a lot of the work they're doing is in the documentary space. And I love documentaries. So I love to see them creating that type of content. Then topic 5, Twitter this week, Chrissy Teigen. So there's this New York Times writer. She writes for the New York Times and Bon Appetit. She's a legit food writer, right? Food writer, recipe creator. Her name's Alison Roman. But she had an interview this week where she basically tried to drag Chrissy Teigen. She was talking about Chrissy Teigen's career, and she made the remark that she wouldn't want her career to be like Chrissy Teigen, because Chrissy Teigen basically came out with a cookbook, and then bam, the next thing you know, she has a line at Target and she's selling you crap, basically. And then she kind of made similar remarks to Marie Kondo, actually kind of worse, because she called Marie Kondo the B word and said she's basically, she keeps trying to sell you stuff even though she told you to get rid of all your stuff, type of a deal. What was interesting is she also has a line of cookware that's coming out, or a pot that's coming out. And she has a cookbook, and she does, cooking with her on Twitter, and she has a narrative feature coming out, and she has a TV show coming out that Chrissy Teigen signed on to be the executive producer of. So that was kind of interesting.
That
that
alone, period. Forget everything else you said. We're having a food fight, whatever. The fact that Chrissy signed on to be your executive producer, why would you do that? Why would you bash her? And like Chrissy even tweeted like respectfully, she was like, man, this is a bummer. And this is like really hitting me hard because I have supported you my entire like little fun cooking thing that I'm doing. Like I have mentioned you in interviews. I have done your recipes that people can see me do and all this stuff. And this is how you repay me? Basically calling me a sacrificed lamb with extra salt. Like who says that?
Salty.
Like who does that? I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for Chrissy because I mean, honestly, I have her knives. I have her cooking knives, and they're the best knives that I have. Like, this is not an ad. I'm just saying, like, just because her line is at Target doesn't mean that like her stuff isn't good or like isn't respectable and she's just slapping a name on it. Like, she's making it affordable for people to have quality stuff at a low price. And I don't think that should be a reprimand in the cooking world. And just because she has something that's only going to be sold at like fancier cooking stores doesn't make her a better person.
Yeah, the idea of like calling Chrissy Teigen a sellout because like she's found a way to monetize her stuff, I thought was very interesting, because in the article, Alison Roman kind of goes on and on about it's a little bit cutesy, like, I don't have a publisher. Gosh darn, if I was more organized, I probably could make a lot more money at this, but I'm not. It was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I felt like, well, don't be salty about it, because now there's a businesswoman out that's created a model and she's getting a bag for what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Then figure out how to organize and get the bag too, instead of hating on someone else who's actually doing it and then calling her a sellout. And then also interesting to the overall conversation is that you singled out 2 women of color when white women and men have been doing this same thing in this space forever. I mean, Martha Stewart sells everything. You know what I mean? She made a complete industry. Duff Goldman, the famous baker, he sells box cakes. Wolfgang Puck does pizza in the, at Target as well. So it's just fascinating to me that you would glom on to Chrissy Teigen and Marie Kondo. So I think that's what.
And for you to be somebody who works for Bon Appetit and like the New York Times, it's like you are in the room. So you have the network to ask people, hey, can I do this? Hey, how does this happen? What do I need to do to make this happen for me? This is my goal. And I'm sure they would tell you because you're respected in that space, instead of being mad that someone of color is just doing it. They're figuring it out. They're doing it their way.
Yeah, I was so confused. I was just like, what is happening? Like, why are you so mad about something that you could actually do? And then, and just like in the article, in the same breath, she would be like, well, and she's probably a millionaire. So, I guess.
Or she's married to John Legend. So, life
like,
is happy, go lucky all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, she's still a mother. She has 2 kids.
Right.
Like,
and the idea that she was like, somebody's creating her feed and blah, blah, blah. And so I went to Chrissy's Cravings Instagram page that this lady had specifically singled out. And like 25% of that stuff is just pictures of her kids and her husband just like doing random stuff. And I was like, I'm not sure she has like this giant conglomerate behind her when it comes to cravings in particular. And then Chrissy came out and said, there's like 3 people that work on that Instagram account. Like, I don't know. I just felt very odd. I don't know. I was just like, what? And I guess that Twitter kind of agreed with us because it was big news. Yeah. So we'll get right into talking about Twitter. We have a special segment on social media, and I'll let Sam take it away.
Yes. So this is our social media report, stuff that's been kind of trending throughout the day, throughout the week. And something that dropped on Netflix is a show called Hollywood. It's about the post-World War II movement in the Hollywood industry. And it's by Ryan Murphy. So it's kind of got its campiness that you would expect. But it's also, he's trying to create a new vision if progression has happened earlier, per se. But what people are saying is it the inspiration that people say that it is? Is he actually hitting the right points? Did he do this properly? Because what happens is they take a story of an old Hollywood situation of Peg and Whistle, and she committed suicide on the Hollywood sign, and they turn that into a movie. And so then they make this movie different by hiring a Black actress to play the lead and kind of changing the point of view. Like, okay, she couldn't handle it. Everyone's giving her all this pressure, but then she decides to stay alive and, fight through these pressures and give people hope and progression and et cetera, et cetera. So it's more of like, how is this relatable? Why is this a fairy tale? What did they do wrong? And the things that they are saying that people did wrong was like, there wasn't really interventions. There wasn't really stuff that really got people thinking. It was like, okay, Eleanor Roosevelt comes in the room and she's like, yeah, you need to give people inspiration. You need to have people of color on the screen other than their stereotypes. You need to make this happen. Like, she tells the movie industry that. And then they're like, okay, since Eleanor Roosevelt said it, like, let's do it. And so it's like, it wouldn't happen that way. But unfortunately, it's a very weird thing because it kind of does in Hollywood. It's kind of like that random person that's like, yeah, go for it. Yeah, we're going to do it. Or someone who sticks to their guns and they're like, I'm going to make this happen. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And, like, you hear these stories consistently of like pushing your idea to the front lines and how you're going to do it. So it's kind of a tricky thing, but it's also like, if you're going to highlight that there's protests and racial protests and homophobic protests and people being afraid of being who they really are, it's like those things don't melt away when you win an Oscar. Like, those things still live in your everyday life. And just because more people feel comfortable and love you and want, like, you're giving them a voice, there's still haters. And I think they completely ignore that fact. And I think that's what more people need to be upset or are saying that they're upset about, because, this is still going to be something that they live through their everyday life. And it's not just a fantasy where it all goes away, because we're still going to have to keep struggling.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you recommend Hollywood on Netflix?
I would recommend it. I think it's good. I think I liked it. I liked the whole story of it. I mean, obviously they could have gone deeper and things could have been pointed out more, but overall it's like, you kind of get what he's trying to say, and there's nothing else out there like this right now.
Awesome. So we encourage you guys, if you have watched Hollywood on Netflix, comment below, give us your ideas. What do you think about what Sam was saying? Do you have differing opinions? And give us your take on it. We're really interested to know. We're out of time now. We're so glad that you guys joined us today. We're super excited about getting into all of these really interesting topics going on in Black Hollywood that interest people of color like you and me. And we encourage you, once again, if you're listening on podcasts, to give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to give us comments and thumbs up. We will bring this show to you next week. We're so excited for you guys to join us. Sam, where can these guys follow you on social media?
You guys can follow me on Instagram at storyof_Samantha.
Awesome. And you can follow me at HostK, HOSTKAY, on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm tweeting stuff all week. And then just tweet at me if you find an article or something interesting that you would like us to cover or talk about, or if you have questions about anything that we talked about today, or you just want to discuss more, hit us up in the comments or tweet our Instagram to us. We love to talk to you guys. Thanks so much. And we'll see you guys next week on the Black Hollywood Reporter.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.